Hey, we're Halftone Games, and we're checking out some Steam Next Fest demos this year. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Mike.
And we're going to talk about... what are we going to talk about? You want to talk about Gnomes?
So I've been following this for a while. I know one of the devs behind it. It's a cool dude. And I was play testing it for him pretty early in its lifespan. As it's kind of been built out, I actually really like this. I think he's got something pretty good going on. I am pretty big into tower defense in general. And for me, this is just like a cool new tower defense that adds enough novelty to make it kind of like spicy and fun. So you can kind of like do all the typical stuff that you can do in tower defense, build towers, you have resources that you manage, you can use your resources to kind of like buy back into economy to get more resources, or you can spend it on towers. So you kind of have to balance that. It's also a roguelike, so there's different perks and elements and different kinds of units you can get. So you have to kind of choose the units that you want to get and build into. One of the sort of novel things about it is that usually in tower defense, you place a tower and that's where your tower lives now. One of, I think, the core ideas for Gnomes was, what if you could just move your towers every round? And so every round, the enemies kind of spawn in random places around the map, and you can reposition all of your towers to better deal with that threat. So once you build a tower, you've spent those resources and you have it, and you can't like refund it. You can move that tower every round to wherever you want, because the towers aren't actually towers, they're gnomes. So yeah, they can walk around, be repositioned, what have you.
Mike.
Kyle.
What if Tony Hawk could drive?
Whoa. Like in a car?
Yeah.
I think that would be REKT Party.
Oh, okay. What is that?
REKT Party is a game where you play as a car that behaves like a skateboard, and you can do things like grab your wheels and do flips and barrel rolls and go into half pipes. Makes games like Burnout feel like real life driving sims in comparison. Very absurd physics, very like party game feel to it. It's multiplayer, competitive party game. You do all kinds of weird little mini games where you have to compete for scores or times, or play horse or virus, or various different like silly games, kind of in the feel of like, remember the old Mario Karts had like the battle mode and stuff where you had to get like balloons and knock the balloons off other people, and there were like some other kind of weird mini game things that you could do in it.
Yeah.
It has that feel to it where you're kind of like doing all these different like mini games with your cars.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. This is a game built around the mini games in Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Basically. When we played it, we had 3 people, and it seemed like you kind of want 4 at least for a decent kind of thing going on. So I tried this VR game called Evacuation Tampere. I don't really know what it is about it. It's like charming. It's like this crazy punk sort of thing where nothing really makes sense, and it's made by a bunch of Finnish people. It's incredibly dumb and stupid. I went to the camp after like the first level where you just snatch a bunch of alcohol from a bar, and my guy woke up and he was out of his medication for schizophrenia, right? And he's all out and he has to save his favorite podcaster, some guy on a TV. So they hand you a gun and you eat a sausage, which makes a guy cry in front of you. And then you walk by your car and there's this cat with sunglasses on, and I go to pet the cat and it goes meow. Like, it's just some guy. Guy recorded the little meow thing. And I went on my way to shoot like terrible zombie things.
Yeah, I've been kind of learning that there's this, I guess, scene of kind of like Finnish independent games, and I've been becoming more familiar with that and realizing that certain games that I've played and enjoyed kind of come out of this scene or came out of this scene. And there definitely seems to be this sort of like punk, irreverent, just kind of like goofy, fun thing going on with a lot of them. They're sort of like playing around with, the goofiness about like having a game where part of the game is like smoking a cigarette and like drinking a beer and then like peeing off of a tall tower or something like that. Like, I feel like that's like a very like Finnish style of like game design, to be like that's fun game design. You get to smoke a cigarette and drink a beer and pee off of something tall.
Well, maybe they can. I don't know. I think the point of video games is to do things that you can't do in real life, right?
I don't know. I think I don't know what the point of video games is. So Blood Rush is a roguelite boomer shooter FPS. Definitely has some ultra kill influence. There's a lot of schmovement to it. You can parry.
Schmovement?
Yeah, schmovement. I believe that's the technical term, is schmovement.
Something I'd like to throw out is the saying better than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, I agree. This definitely was a game where I played one run of it and I thought, oh, this is like kind of cool. It's decent. But I kind of wanted to play another run, and then I wanted to not play another run, and then another run, and it actually kind of pulled me in a lot.
Yeah, it kind of, I don't know, blindsides you by how intricate it kind of starts getting. It does sort of the Hades thing where every time you beat a room, you can choose between a couple of different doors for what power-up you want to work towards, and there's a couple of bosses, and it has some Dark Souls adjacent, I don't know, visuals, something like that.
It definitely has that kind of like haunting, otherworldly, gothic, almost like vaguely medieval feel to it.
I don't know, I looked at the trailers and I was like, whatever, it's a shooter, I'll try it. And then it did, and I just kept playing it.
Yep.
So that's got to be worth something, I think.
Yeah. I also just kept playing it. What did you think of Into the Restless Ruins?
It's kind of like Vampire Survivors, except you're building the dungeon.
Yeah. So it reminded me a little bit of Blueprints, where it's a roguelike where you're getting rooms and building out a mansion as you explore it. This had a similar feel to that, where you're getting these cards that are rooms and you're placing them to build out a dungeon that then you explore, and you explore it with kind of an auto battler mechanic. I really liked it. I thought it worked really well. It was kind of fun to build out the dungeon and learn about the ways that you could kind of like lay it out with different rooms that have effects. Like you can put healing rooms, and you have this torch that's gradually going out, and you can put the campfire rooms that extend the lifespan of your torch, and you can place rooms that like upgrade your attack for the run. So each time you go through, you're sort of like building out this optimal route for you to get resources and ultimately get to the end and fight a boss and win. So Into the Grid is definitely of the style of Slay the Spire.
Oh yeah, mixed with a little bit of the hacking minigame from the Deus Ex games.
I wouldn't know, but I believe you.
Yeah, well, that's sort of dating ourselves here by me throwing that out there. It's like the hacking minigame from Deus Ex, and then when you click on a certain spots, then you go into combat from Slay the Spire.
Yeah, the like overworld is kind of a hacking minigame, and then you go into these Slay the Spire battles. The polish, first of all, was just impressive to me, and kind of the amount of depth in that, as well as like the amount of depth in the overworld compared to Slay the Spire, where the overworld is like very utilitarian.
The UI is crazy.
Yeah, the UI is crazy and very cool, honestly. Everything just looks cool, very cyberpunk. Nice sound design, nice juice to it. It's hard in a demo to get a strong feel of how much depth there is in terms of like build making and synergies and stuff like that. But I already found some interesting things and was like starting to get some interesting builds going, especially with the Vim thing, where like as you play different cards, you build up Vim, and then you can spend that to do like certain special things, and then you can start building around their cards that do certain things if you've done a command that turn. And there are things that like give you extra Vim or have extra effects if you have more Vim, and all kinds of things like that. So it kind of adds another layer and dynamic into the Slay the Spire formula. All right, so Black Paradox Reloaded is apparently a sort of remaster, remake, re-release of the game Black Paradox. So maybe it doesn't make sense to include it in this roundup, but we didn't play the original, so it's new to us.
And there's a demo.
And it's in Next Fest, so it counts.
The co-op is new.
The co-op is new? Oh, okay. The co-op was great. That's why we played it largely. Because we saw it had co-op and thought it would be fun to play it together. And it was. Neither of us are huge shoot 'em up players, so we're not super familiar with the genre. I think we've probably both played a few before, but not really gotten into it. So it's hard to compare within the genre. People who are very familiar with the genre may feel like this is a particularly good example of the genre, or maybe just a fairly generic one. I don't know. But we liked it a lot, had a lot of fun with it. The art is really cool. The music is banging. Music was awesome. Controls are super tight. There's a bunch of different upgrades and cool different weapons you can get. The meta perk system I think is kind of cool, where you buy perks and you have slots you can assign them to, and you can buy more slots and buy more perks and kind of switch them out. Yeah, I thought it was very fun.
Yeah, I think it's saying something that since both of us aren't really into this genre and we just kept doing run after run after run, I think that's a good sign.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. These are some games we think that, are worth checking out.
Also, if anything on here sounded interesting, play the demo, wishlist it, check it out, buy it when it comes out. Most of these are small creators, independent solo devs, or small studios. And for independent artists to thrive, they just need word of mouth and to connect to their audience. So if you think it's cool, go tell them it's cool, play their game, try it out, wishlist it.
So we're Halftone Games. I'm Kyle.
I'm Mike.
And we'll see you on the next one.